If in 2014, Narendra Modi was tagged as one of the world's finest communication and marketing mavericks, then in May 2019, the overwhelming consensus is that he will go down in history not just as one of India's most decisive and authoritarian leader of states, but with mass appeal like one has never seen before, but also as a global marketing case study that the world will need to study. Hello and welcome to a special showing right here on Brand Equity. We're calling it the Election Special and the Power of Mass Messaging. Over the next half hour, we're going to be analyzing BJP's targeted yet mass messaging that, of course, the entire country seems to be taken in by. We're also going to be talking about its tone, tenor, and the nuances, as well as its bold, in-your-face tactics that the party and, of course, the Prime Minister deployed to emerge victorious. Well, this is indeed a special showing as I have very distinguished guests joining me. Well, first up, I have Sam Balsara, a man who needs no introduction. He is the founder and the chairman and managing director of Madison. But more importantly, for this particular conversation, he is the man who drove the BJP's media purse, so really the man behind the media strategy and buying for BJP. Along with him, I'm joined by Dilip Cherian, who is, a person who is a communication specialist, but also an advisor to many a political campaign. And right here in the Bombay studio, I'm joined by none other than Rohit Ohri. He is currently the CEO of FCB, but more importantly for this conversation, he's the man who's actually been in charge of the Congress's strategy and campaign in 2009 and 2014. So he's really a man who can give us the perspective from the outside, being an insider, in past elections. So thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Truly a pleasure having you on Brand Equity. So first things first, I'm going to come to you, Sam. You're clearly the man of the moment, the media man for the BJP, and many, many congratulations on pulling off such a victorious campaign.
Well, I think there were a fair number of differences, Sonali. 2014 was, I think, a very high-pitched campaign compared to the campaign that we ran in 2019. And I think, to my mind, when the BJP briefed us about the 2019 campaign, I could sense that they were very confident about their victory, and they were and that confidence stemmed from the fact that they had their pulse on the people, and the people were telling them that in the last 5 years they had made substantial contribution to their lives, and they were very noticeable contributions, starting with demonetization, GST, the surgical strikes, the schemes for the poor that reached the poor and actually made a difference to their lives, the decisive leadership of Modi. So whilst I think a lot of people in SEC 1 and in urban cities may have been critical of BJP, I think the BJP knew what was happening on the ground, and therefore their brief to us was actually to run a low-key campaign. Having said that, of course, I must say that nobody understands the need for good communication and the power of good communication. BJP themselves are excellent communicators. So they did not want to take the electorate for granted, and therefore there was a campaign. They wanted to be seen to be wooing the voter and reminding the voter of what all they had done in the last 5 years. But I would say it was a low-key campaign. And of course, over the years, I mean, since 2014, we have been involved in election campaigns in a lot of assembly elections, two notably Maharashtra, and the last one was UP, Uttarakhand, where again we helped BJP win with a thumping majority. So I think over the years we have kind of perfected the art of election media planning.
Great. Well, let me come to you, Rohit. Now, you're clearly, somebody who's seen the Congress, in 2009 and, of course, in 2014 when they lost. So you've seen their campaign. You know how they work. Unfortunately, everybody in the Congress who I called who were key to this campaign strategy refused to actually, come on air and talk about it, because I think that's a diktat that's come from internally. But having said that, what is your view in, we've all seen the mass messaging and the constant messaging from the BJP. Give me, your point of view on why did they A, start so late? And B, why was their campaign so insipid? Like, it didn't really, touch a chord. I mean, I don't think it was a really big effort.
In my mind, I think the first and most important thing actually in communication and in branding, and I think this is a case study in that really, is that you need to start well ahead of the elections, right? There is the runway. Now, you don't have to start too early. You can't even start too late. Right. And I think as far as this year's campaign that the Congress party ran, I think they ran it way too late in the whole run-up to the elections, and that resulted in people not really knowing what they were talking about. If you look at what the Nyaya scheme that Rahul Gandhi was talking about, I don't think they were able to explain that Nyaya scheme properly to people, because it was already in the middle of the elections, right? In the heat of the elections, you have a new message into for the voters to come in who find it difficult assimilating when there's so many messages coming together, right? So if it was a properly planned campaign where we all know in advertising there is a merit of brand repetition. It creates a memory system in the minds of consumers. Is really about repeating one message over and over again, and that I think is what Prime Minister Modi did. It was one clear message and repeated over and over and over again. So I think there were multiple messages as far as the Congress was concerned, and also the messaging came way too late. It was too little too late.
Dilip, you've heard both Sam and Rohit, and you've also been following, of course, these parties very, very closely, and have also been advisory to a few. What would you say, what was the one thing in your opinion that was, that got these results which actually nobody expected? Was it the whole, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was it the whole change of narrative from being, let's say, individualistic to saying what I got from this government, to really very cleverly changing the narrative to saying, this is India and we're Indians, and the whole nationalistic agenda that actually drove the nail into the coffin?
What Sam said is right. This is a party which began its campaign with a lot of confidence. Confidence which came from the feedback they got from the ground. And the Congress, in contrast, was a party which started far too late to be able to get to the victory tape. But I think fundamentally the difference between 2014 and 2019 in terms of the way the BJP ran its campaigns was the fact that it did not look like it needed the campaign so much, because this time, like last time, but much more than last time, was about brand Modi. So they recognized that having him out there and making people just see him both more in unpaid media, i.e. in the print, television and on social media, was the key to connecting with the voter. And though they reduced their spend even on social media, it is very clear on a per capita basis compared to last year, compared to last time, I think that the idea was to get Prime Minister Modi's message to the beneficiaries as well as those who believed in the other values that the BJP was espousing at this point of time, patriotism, nationalism, etc. So I think the combination of these two things is what worked for the campaign this time, and it was less, compared to previous years and compared to other parties, less reliant on the advertising being able to take the message. It was the man who was the message, and it was the man who was going with the message as close to you as possible, onto your handheld, onto your screen, but really giving his own message at length via the many campaign rallies that he addressed and other methods that he used right through the campaign.
You know, Sam, let me bring you in. We're talking about, how he was everywhere, really omnipresent, and that really is, the essence of this campaign, that he was everywhere, every medium. So if you could give me a sense, and you're the perfect man to ask this question, on what was the total media spends that the BJP actually spent this election season, if I combine both traditional and digital?
Sonali, I cannot disclose actual figures, but I can tell you that whatever figure, whatever media pundits may estimate, the actual figure was lower than that.
If I say, if I put my neck out there and say, according to popular speculation, the amount is, somewhere in the range about 500 crore rupees that was spent this election season, would I be, close to being accurate?
Yeah, I'm saying you'd be far off the mark. The actual number is far lower.
Fair enough. So I'll take you at face value, but moving on and taking off from what Dilip said, that that he was omnipresent. Tell me, this time the usage of his media strategy was so unique. I don't think it's ever been seen in any election in India and any election actually across the world, where you had him, in movies, you had him as a web series, you had a whole Namo TV. I mean, it was just simply out of the box and in your face. What would you, how much of strategy and how long did this planning take to think through all of this, so much so that they timed it so rightly just before the model code of conduct came out? Some was left for the last leg. Unfortunately, the movie could not be released, but most of it was actually very accurately timed, much before the big run-up to the elections. Sam?
I would say, the number today, generally speaking, in the advertising world, the number of touch points have multiplied. It is no longer mass media alone through which you reach people. And I think BJP was clever enough to, have thought through this, not just, a few days before the campaign, but months and months before the campaign. And I think all this played, to my mind, a very significant role in the overall communication package. I think mass media was just one element of the communication package.
Right. Let's talk about that. Some would call it audacious that, a prime minister, the current prime minister, would actually put himself out there and market himself so singularly that it was no more, it was a single man kind of rally. It was all about Narendra Modi. And of course, we'll have critics who say that that's not the way it's supposed to be. Having said that, it delivered, and how? In your opinion, do you think all these different modes of communication that were so new for us as Indians, how do you think, if you look at India as, or Indians as consumers, how do you think they bought into it?
So, like I was telling you earlier, Sonali, I think Prime Minister Modi should do a workshop with advertising agencies and teach them a thing or two about branding and communication. If you look at the voter base, there were 10% of the voter base were actually first-time voters, right? They're young people. and they actually are not, you know, in their heads, they are not people who've grown up with the horrific memories of the Babri Masjid or the Gujarat riots or anything like that. For them, this was, they liked Prime Minister Modi's muscular politics, right? So they liked the fact that he was decisive, he had a strong point of view, and you know, that was something that was appealing to the young voters, and they actually, I think, would be a big part of the reason, you know. And if you look at the kind of communication that BJP did, whether it was you know, through movies, through telling it through series, and all the stuff that they did around social media, I think it's really a brilliant strategy, quite honestly, because this is the new way of communicating. If you look at it, when we talk about content, we say, you know, content needs to be merged into the lives of young people. People must be interested enough to be engaged in it, right? So you tell a story. So that whole thing of eventually telling stories and getting people engaged in the story. So How's the Josh was really something that you know, young people resonated with, and that was something that truly became powerful as a piece of communication. Because, you know, for election messaging, it otherwise fairly boring if you look at it. You know, I mean, there isn't some deep resonance or emotional pull and tug. You get some facts and figures, but I think this was really something which was new and unique, and I think quite a masterclass.
For sure. He should be at camp this year actually doing the masterclass. But Dilip, let me get you in, and I want to talk to you about the power of visuals and simply how the BJP has played with visuals with the Prime Minister, you know, constantly, tirelessly. This campaign, if it was anything, was tireless. It was, you know, for us journalists, it became monotonous because, you know, we were constantly at it. But, you know, for the rest of the country, it was like, it was a tireless, consistent effort, I would say almost through. So give me your view on the power of visuals, even after elections. You know, the whole going to, you know, Kedarnath, the stay there. I mean, the way it was presented, it has never been seen before.
You know, Sonali, the key thing is in the fact that they recognized that between the first-time voters of 2014 and the first-time voters of 2019, they had a substantial cohort of people who were used to the visual means of reaching them. So that is the basis for which on which they turned the whole campaign. Also, they recognized that being on just television or print was not enough, or even digital. It had to be multimedia and it had to be 360, which is why the television series, the trek to Kedarnath, everything. So it was a mix of things which ensured that Prime Minister Modi was never off the mind of anyone in the electoral fray in going to the hustings over 7 distinct phases of the election. Also, remember that it was very clear that Mr. Modi was able to run a different theme in almost each phase of the election. If anyone goes back and analyzes, he set the agenda differently in each time, and he made sure that others had to follow. That was a major, shall I say, achievement, and this is something that he is extremely skillful at. So, being able to set the agenda 7 times in the course of one election campaign is, as Rohit just said, a master class in communications. But the way the message was sent was through WhatsApp, through Instagram, through a variety of methods which they used intensively and left in the hands of people to do, rather than just expecting mass media to do that for them.
I agree that you have to give the BJP enough credit to decimate the image on a consistent basis because of their excellent machinery at work to ensure that Rahul Gandhi is portrayed. We don't, I mean, and you know, we're not talking about realities here, but the perception is created amongst the country, that he is actually an incompetent leader. And that machinery was equally well oiled at one end to ensure that was the perception created. And on the other hand, of course, showcase Narendra Modi as the savior of the country. And that was done so brilliantly.
Sonali, if I may just interject on this, the idea was less to project or to, shall I say, put down Mr. Gandhi. The idea was to show that Mr. Gandhi was part of a cohort of people and which was going to result in complete chaos if they did not choose a robust, muscular and extremely powerful single person leader.
Okay. Okay, fair point. So, what would, if I had to ask you that, name me the top headline factors where the Congress completely lost the plot with their campaigning, what would it be?
I think if one were to look at it, it is the fact that the Nyay campaign was launched virtually after people had started to file their nominations. And the second is that it was so complex, it looked a bit like a Supreme Court Bar Association slogan rather than something for the masses. It was not easily understandable and it was difficult to translate into human terms for everybody instantly because many of the candidates didn't understand what they were supposed to communicate.
That's true. Sam, what's your point of view on the headline factors that actually got Congress in quite the quandary they are in today?
We always say, Sonali, in advertising, that good advertising kills a bad product faster. I think the problem is that the Congress did not have a good product to sell. So, no amount of advertising or no amount of high quality creative stuff could have helped the Congress.
I'm running out of time. Let me, get your closing point before I end the show. All in all, you saw both, we've all seen this election play out. Do you think that the Congress now needs to start, campaigning for 2024 now? Do they need to get their creative agency, their media agency, their think tank in place now so that they have even a mild shot in 2024?
I don't think they need to really bother about advertising or campaign. I think like Sam was saying, I think they need to first do some introspection and really understand what's the reason for this debacle, right? So, because in my opinion, this was a really good shot that they had, after winning Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, there was a momentum that there was, which they couldn't capitalize. And I think that was really a missed opportunity, because this was a great opportunity for them to signal and bring in younger leaders and show that, there is commitment behind transformation. And I think fundamentally, I think the first thing they need to do is really introspect and really come up with an acceptable structure in the party that people feel is new and is a break from the past.
Well, we're definitely living in interesting times, to say the least. And thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking time out and joining us on this brand equity special. And many, many congratulations to you, Sam, once again, for being the media man for the BJP and actually, bringing them victoriously once again in 2019. I'm sure in 2024, you'll be the media man for them once again. On that note, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Thanks for watching.